Madam Chair, I'd like to approve tonight's agenda with a few corrections. The regular board meeting April 9th, not the 12th. On the back of the agenda on the second page, the grievance hearing will be 9.0. The executive session will be 10.0. With that, I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I've had a motion from Steve and a second by Marcia to approve the agenda with a few amendments. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Let's move on to 2.0, presentation from our Chief of Police, Ryan Doyle.
Am I on? Thank you, Superintendent Gallagher and board. It's a pleasure to be here to meet with you and introduce myself. I apologize that a couple of board meetings have come and gone since my appointment in October, but I'm pleased to be here tonight. As many of you probably know, I'm a native of Coquille. I grew up here, and I'm pleased to be back in the community and leading our department. School safety is a huge priority of mine in our departments, and the safety of our students and our staff is one of if not our primary concern in the community. So my hope is that going forward we will be more visible in the schools, both at function, as I was able to attend the Dr. Seuss reading, and we had a blast with the kids, and that community involvement is just extraordinarily important to me. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I was just extraordinarily thankful for our relationship with the Sheriff's Office and Deputy Owens and the work that he does every day, and we've been able to work extraordinarily closely with him, and we sure appreciate that. And we have a good working relationship there. So, any questions from the board or anything that I can answer?
Oh, welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back. It is. So.
Definitely appreciate your partnership and working with us, Ryan. Definitely do that.
Absolutely.
Very much appreciate it.
Community partnerships are what my job and what our job as a police department are all about. And you know, I think moving forward, we're going to have a good partnership, and we want to be a resource for the district and for our schools and for our students ultimately. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Welcome home.
Good to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we'll move on to 2.2, integrated guidance budget by Tanya Cinco.
Good evening, everyone. You'll probably recall that last month we spoke of the process that we had gone through as a district and as building and leadership teams to gather input and feedback from our families, students, staff, both certified and classified, and community members about needs that they saw in our district, and suggestions and input about how we could address those. One of the ways we can work to address those needs is through what they're now calling our integrated programs, which is a combination of multiple grants. There are 6, but only 4 are relevant to our district. And those are the High School Success Grant, the Student Investment Account, the Early Intervention Indicator System, and the Early Literacy Grant. That's a brand new or recently added initiative from our state. So we spoke last month of the needs that were elevated and what it was exactly that we have been allocating our spending toward, but we didn't have the dollar amounts of what it is that we are projected to receive for the 25-26 school year. And we didn't have necessarily the breakdown between salary and benefits. So in your packet, you will note that you have a 1-pager that says Integrated Plan Budget 25-26. And with the help of our amazing Denise, she went through and gave us a breakdown by grant amount. So we're getting just over $460,000 for our student high school success grant, excuse me. And you'll see accounted for what it is that we are spending for our 2 academic counselors. Those are Catherine Allred and Misty Snively, who support our high school students with staying on track to graduate and ideas and thoughts of what they can do beyond high school. Our social emotional counselor, Philip Johnson, who serves our Winter Lake schools. It pays for portions of our ag teachers, Miss Julia Scaleri and Mr. Kendon Findley, and a portion of Brenda Goebel in our cosmetology. And so you have there broken down what the salary and benefits look like. I will say to the board that this is a 1 year of a 2-year biennium, so we don't know what the costs or what the received amount's going to be next year in the 26-7. So we haven't budgeted for that yet, but we're just showing what it is that we're anticipating budgeting for this upcoming school year. Our student investment account is substantially larger at just over $1.3 million, and we use these funds to support kindergarten readiness, also known as pre-K, our paraprofessionals, and the EA who supports them. We pay for our additional 2 social emotional counselors, Sonia Amlin and Michelle Bullington, at CVE and the junior senior high. We are paying for the salary and benefits for one of our first grade teachers, for 2 of our CTE teachers, so we pick up the other halves in the above grant. So we're paying for 3.5 of our CTE teachers strictly out of these different grant funds. 0.2 of my position is coming from this particular account. Our equity team, which was mentioned previously that we've had in the past, and we're tasked under Senate Bill 732 to seat a full equity team moving forward, and we have equity team stipends for 5 people that we pay from this account. We pay for our summer school and summer programs from this account. We pay for our additional half of a CTE teacher, so now we're up to 4 full CTE teachers, and our EA who supports our simulator room at the high school. We pay for our 2 speech language pathologists and our SLPA, which is an assistant. And we are anticipating paying for our health curriculum, which is being adopted to meet our 2023 newly introduced standards by ODE. The Early Intervention Indicator Fund pays for our tech team stipends. We have peers who support other peers within their buildings with different pieces of technology and troubleshooting before we start calling our tech department, and they're very busy. And then our early literacy grant that you see below, we are paying for targeted tutors at Lincoln, one at Lincoln and one at CVE. So these are folks who are working with our interventionists to support our students who are most at need for interventions. So we wanted you to have, first we had the narrative and anecdotal picture. This is the budgetary picture, and you'll see later in your packet that we are asking for the board to approve our projected expenditures of these funds to support our students. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our program and school written reports. Winter Lakes High School. Is there any questions for our principal? I wanted to ask how your last week went, and you didn't call me and ask me to come in for your writing the resumes and interviews and.
Julie was supposed to send you an email regarding that. However, we had one of the best outcomes that we have had for resume building and mock interviews, and our teachers and our staff and some wonderful volunteers from the community came, and it was very, very successful, and I'm forever grateful that that happened, and the students were very engaged and successful, and one of the best things we've done so far for our students.
Good.
Awesome.
Any other questions for Ms. Klopper? Okay. Let's move on to 3.2, Coquille Junior High. Mr. Dixon. Okay. It seems like we had a pretty good turnout for freshman orientation. I don't know the numbers, how many of them were there, but I don't know. Good, great. Okay, 3.3 for the high school, for Ms. Yee.
What did the students overall think about that cadaver?
It was, so the students that went, it was mainly our AP biology students. And we really appreciate SWAC extending the invitation for us to come. They actually would have liked to spend some more time there. And they did get some hands-on experience, and they looked at the lungs and how they inflate and deflate, and they all really liked it. Like I said, the only feedback I heard is that they would have liked more time.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, Lincoln School of Early Learning. Ms. May, any questions for her? Oh, did I skip
We
CVE?
skipped CVE.
You know what, there's too many letters that start with C. Sorry, I'll go back to
I wanted to say on CBE and Lincoln, I both saw on those two the Classified Appreciation Week that you guys both mentioned that, and I think that that's awesome that you guys took the time out to recognize the, you know, the staff and the backbone of the schools. So that's awesome. Thanks for including that in your reports, Armando, Amy.
Any questions for Mr. Ruiz about CVE? I know Dr. Seuss Night was very successful. If we measure success by the turnout, so.
Now we have to go bounce house every year.
I know, how can you beat that?
Yeah.
The line for that was long, so. Okay, any other questions for Ms. May, for Lincoln? And I don't have Winter Lakes Elementary on here, and I know there wasn't a report, so.
It's okay.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Absolutely not. No shame.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Okay. All right, let's go to 3.6, our curriculum director. Any questions for Tanya? All right. CTE and special programs. Any questions for Jeff? Sounds like everything's getting ready for, hopefully everything's already ready for spring sports, I guess, because they've all started, but.
We're really close.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got one more odds and ends thing to do, the softball field and the track, but yeah, they're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our athletic director?
We had a great season, didn't we? I mean, there was a lot.
Basketball.
Girls, yeah.
Yep,
They
yep.
were great undefeated, they had 3-1 loss. Freshman
Backwards.
JV team, 1 loss on the season.
We had some really good wrestlers. Our wrestling team did, both boys and girls did really well as too. Yep, yeah, I saw that.
I guess the question we're all wondering is there going to be a baseball team?
Yes, we all are wondering.
Okay, so it's not answered yet. Maybe you need to like take a stick down the hallway and, I don't know.
I have multiple
Threaten.
people helping me.
Is there an opportunity to co-op if,
There would not be an opportunity to go on, unfortunately. None of the surrounding schools would want to move up a classification, and that's what would happen if they go off with us. They would get 3 or 4 players and have to play 5A or Marshfield and
Yeah.
create advantage and those kind of.
okay. That's
Okay,
unfortunate.
any questions for our technology supervisor, Sean? Sounds like you've been busy putting in intercom systems. Hopefully they all are working well and,
Our first 2 schools are, from what I heard, are working really good. So we're on to school number 3 now.
good. Okay, any questions for Nate, our transportation supervisor?
So did it seem like we had a much milder, like we didn't have a lot of issues with buses, winter, getting kids back in?
No, we didn't have any winter transportation
Issues this year like we did last year?
We skated by.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after today's weather.
Okay, any questions for our food services supervisor, Marcy? Okay, and any questions for John Owens, our school resource deputy? So are you going to do driver's ed in the summer too? I know you're running one right now, but,
Yes.
okay.
15 students is the plan.
Have you already done signups for those, or that,
Pardon?
have you had signups for those?
We're gonna open it up after spring break, and it'll start June 9th, and should end about August 21st, with about 3 breaks, 3-week breaks during the time of 4th of July, Fair Week.
Fair?
And I have a training I have to go to the week after that, so I'll be there.
Good. Good to know.
We learned a lot from that first summer one, didn't we?
Okay, let's move on to 4.0 fiscal report. Any questions for Denise? For Denise, do you have anything to say?
We are fully staffed again in the business office. Nicole is back, so we are no longer using ESD for our accounts payable. So we're very excited about that. The ESD did a great job, don't get me wrong, but it's always nice to have that in-house. And right now, the projection is to end, our ending fund balance will be at 1.4 million. Any questions for me on anything else?
Okay, I'll turn the time over to our superintendent for our superintendent's report.
In your board packet, we have our population report for the month of February. You can see that our student enrollment is still holding steady at 1236. I did receive some correspondence from some parents having some questions about our suggested or proposed moves at CVE. I offered all of those parents an opportunity to come in and meet with me, and all of them have declined at this point. So I do have a PowerPoint that I would like to share some information with the board regarding our declining enrollment, our March forecast, and our estimated roll-up costs. So if you can get a chance to see one of our screens.
Is there a copy of that in here?
No.
That's what I'm looking for.
Stand up, look
There's
like
not.
a-
It's
Oh, okay.
called.
What's that?
No,
One of the
there's-
things I wanted to share with the board regarding our declining enrollment is some real goals that we're working on as a district we want to maintain our staffing levels in all of our buildings. We want to maintain our programs for our students, because obviously if you cut people, that means we're cutting programs, and we don't want to do that. And we want to look at targeted spending opportunities that will help us save money in the future. So, declining enrollment. What I have here is we take our average of our enrollment. So in 23-24, if you look at October through February, the average during that time of our enrollment was 1,274.6. If you look at this school year, October through February, that averages out to 1,234.6. That is a decrease of 40 students in 1 year. I broke that down just for the month of February, so maybe the board would be able to see it and better understand why declining enrollment within our district is not so obvious. So for example, in 2023, Lincoln had 136 students in kindergarten and first grade. This year they have 163. Lincoln is up 27 students from where they were last year. I can assure you the teachers at Lincoln are not experiencing declining enrollment. At CVE, in February of 23-24, they had 361 students. And this month in 24-25, they had 337. That is down 24 students from where they were this time last year. But remember, CVE has 22 teachers. So if you have missing 24 students, 22 teachers, that's really only on average 1 student per teacher. It's not obvious at CVE that we have declining enrollment. If you look at Coquille Junior Senior High School, they were at 358 last year. They're at 358 this year, which really is even. The high school is not noticing declining enrollment. If we drop to the bottom and look at Winter Lakes High School, the same thing. Last February, they were at 262. This February, they're at 262. They're dead even, they're not seeing declining enrollment. But if you look at Winter Lakes Elementary, and remember, Winter Lakes Elementary, we made a strategic decision to not fill 2 grade levels at that building this year because we didn't have the enrollment to support those positions. Last year, during February, they had 163 students. This year they have 116. That's down 47 students. So just in the month of February, we're down 44 students from where we were last February. That is a noticeable declining enrollment, and that's going to have an impact on our budget, and I'll share that more in a second. So the question was posed to me, is Coquille the only school district that is experiencing declining enrollment? What I have in front of you, these are the 10 school districts on the South Coast. There's only 2 districts that had a positive increase in enrollment. One of those districts was Bandon. They increased by 12.6 students, and Myrtle Point increased by 6.8. This is ADMW, which is different than ADMR, and I'll explain that in a second. So if you look at Coquille, I know that I showed you on the board that by average we're down 48 students, but by ADMW we're actually down 48.71. So let me explain this worksheet, and I realize it's small print, but I'll try to do my best to explain this. This is how ADMW, this is how our weighted enrollment is calculated. So for example, the first category is students that are involved in ELL programs. We get an additional 0.5 weighting for students that are in an ELL program. Students that are pregnant and parenting programs, we get an additional full weight for students that are part of that. If you look at 23-24, we had 8.72 students in that program. This year, we have 3.72 students in that program. Special education students, we have 174 students on an IEP. But as of a law that was passed, I believe it was 1992 when that law went into effect, there's a cap of 11%. So even though we have 174 students, we're only receiving a double weight for 133 of those students. We do receive a small percentage for above the 11% ADMR, but it's only 6.7. Students of poverty, we have 203 students that qualify for that category. That's an additional 0.5 weighting. Students that are in foster care or qualify for neglected or delinquent, they get an additional, we have 4 of those students, they get an additional 0.5, which adds up to 1 student. We do not receive money for remote elementary school correction. We do receive a small high school correction, and we do not receive postgraduate scholars. So when I just told you our ADMR at the beginning of this year, and this is as of the end of September, we ended up with 1,215. That is different from actual students, because not all of our students are enrolled full-time. So when you break those percentages down, we started off at 1,215. By the time you look at all of these different weightings by categories, we're being funded on 1,502 students, 0.99. Okay? So I shared with the board at the last meeting that we were going to get a March estimate. We've received that March estimate. So in 24-25, our state school fund dollars in June 5 of 24 was $13,794,000. On March 3rd, we received our estimate of those funds for next year. And our estimate was based on, and that's important too, the $13,794 was based on 10.2 billion, which is what we were funded for in the last biennium. This biennium, the 14,207 is based on 11.356 billion. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see the governor's press conference on Monday, she was extremely clear. And I think as an educational leader in our state, probably the clearest I think I've seen in my 25 years in Oregon, she clearly said she is no longer writing a blank check for education. She is expecting accountability for every dollar, and as she said, they've increased the education funding by $1.1 billion. Now the expectation is that schools deliver. I have some more information that I'm going to share with the board after this presentation regarding that. So, I am pleased to announce that based on those funds, we are going to see an increase of $413,000 next year from what we received this year. But that only tells part of the story. There's other revenue sources that we receive as a district that comes in. The first one is property taxes. So our property taxes that we are estimating for next year, we're estimating that we're going to bring in $2,744,000. There's always taxes that aren't paid on time and we collect back taxes. We're estimating that we'll have $100,000 of back taxes. Our money, we strategically invest our money in the local government investment pool every year, and we're anticipating that that strategic investment is going to add $200,000 of revenue to the district for next year. Admission, we charge admission into events. We're estimating we're going to collect $20,000 in admission. Our Child Development Center. 2 months ago, the board voted to increase our hourly rate that we charge in daycare from $3.60 to $4. We're estimating that by doing that, we're going to increase our revenue up to $110,000 for child development. Rentals and fees. We rent out our facilities in the Coquille School District, and we're anticipating that we're going to bring in a revenue of $25,000. Miscellaneous, and there's a variety of things in there. We're planning on bringing in $60,000. The state school fund, which is by far our largest chunk of money that comes into our budget, I put in that 14,207 that I just shared the previous slide. Our beginning fund balance, we are being optimistic, but we are hoping that we can have a beginning fund balance of $1.9 million to set ourselves up for next year. $1 million of that is contingency. The board's been really clear about that. $1 million of contingency. The other $900,000 is what we're trying to save out of this year's budget. We're estimating, but we're also hopeful. Other revenue funds that come in are about $204,000 altogether. When you look at all the revenue that comes into the district, we're expecting to have $19,571,000. Okay? Let's talk about projected roll-up costs. We have settled contracts with admin, confidential, and certified. We're expecting our admin salaries and benefits, and we've talked about this before. Salaries and benefits are the biggest chunk of our budget. We are all about hiring people to provide services for students. Admin is $1.9 million. Confidential is $1 million. Our certified staff is $7.5 million. Estimating our classified staff at just over $5 million. Athletics, $484,000. And all other costs we're estimating to be right around $5.5 million. Our roll-up costs are coming out to 21 or a little over $21 million. So I didn't want that, I I didn't want that other projected costs. I wanted to explain what are some of those other projected costs. Right off the bat, we have debt payments on the loans that we currently have in the district. $850,000 of our money, right off the top, goes to pay for the loans that this district has acquired over the years. And if I remember correctly, Denise, we won't have those paid off till 2038?
Yes.
Okay, so that number is a constant within our budget. We have, just like every family, we have electricity, water, sewer, garbage, on the tune of about $263,000. We have fuel for buses, fuel for heating. Some of our buildings run on electricity. Some of them have some natural gas and other things. That's $121,000. Overall supplies that we bring in is a little over $1 million. Maintenance for our buildings, and I know the board is very familiar that after all the bond conversation that we had over $62 million that we need to do of improvements in our buildings, but what we can actually afford every year is more like $400,000. And then there's also the contingency dollar amount of $1 million that I know the board is going to require me to have in our budget. Okay? So, if you look at our total projected costs of just over $21 million, our estimated revenue of $19.5, that means right now we're estimating a budget shortfall of about $1.5 million. We've already tried to mitigate that, and I know this is super small, so I'm going to have to read it. So what have we done already? So the first thing that we've done is we've made the decision to not replace a maintenance supervisor and move Jeff Philly to an assistant superintendent role. By doing that, it saved $100,000, but it has added a lot more responsibility onto Jeff. He is now in charge of custodial, maintenance, food service, special programs, foster care, a liaison. He does all of our threat assessment, on, and there's a whole laundry list. Jeff is willing to take on this challenge because he knows it's going to support the district. The second thing on the list is cost neutral, and that is the Coquille School District has made the decision to go out and hire our own business manager. By partnering with the ESD, we really have been cost neutral up to this point. Based on contracts that I've seen from the ESD, I don't believe that's the truth in the future. So I think financially, it will be better for us to hire our own business manager. The third thing on there is hiring a VP at CVE. CVE is currently our third largest school, and with the equity issue within that building of supervising the number of teachers and classified, having another administrator in that building as well as supporting with student discipline, I think is going to be extremely important. Hiring an assistant principal compared to a retiring administrator's salary is a savings of $40,000 for the district. We're still looking at not hiring a K-1 teacher at Winter Lakes Elementary, and we will reevaluate that next year. Amy and Tanya are also going to work really hard, and they're going to try to change my mind by doing a kindergarten roundup, and I'll talk more about live birth rates in a second. But if we can get the numbers to justify, I can justify moving this or putting it back on the board. But by not hiring a K-1 teacher at Winter Lakes Elementary, that's a savings of $189,000. Because when we budget for a teacher, we budget for a teacher at the top of the salary schedule. And our teachers at the top of the salary schedule, when you add up PERS, insurance, and associated payroll costs, is costing the district $189,000. That's why we budgeted that amount. If we are to hire a grow-your-own teacher and trade for a retiring teacher, that would be a savings of $100,000. Tanya Cinco, Other cuts that we're gonna make are gonna come out of the district office first. I talked about the ads, now let's talk about cuts. Tanya Cinco is gonna come out of the district office, and she is gonna be the principal of Winter Lakes Elementary School and still do her half-time curriculum jobs. It's gonna be a lot of work on Tanya, but I am confident that she'll put forth the effort to get the job done. I am canceling 2 stipends here at the district office for a total of $8,000. And we are not gonna replace the business HR office secretary for a savings of $75,000. There is one position that's going to be an ad, and that's a planned ad. Food service, we hired a temporary secretary this last year, and our plan is to move forward and hire a full-time secretary to meet our requirements of the double counting and everything that we need to do for food service. So that is an ad of $50,000. Altogether, with making these moves now, that's a savings of $462,000. So, our budget shortfall of $1.5 million minus the $462,000 that we've already adjusted, we still need an additional balance of $1 million, just over $1 million, okay? So, we're very early in the budget process. It's March. So, I realize that $1 million sounds like a lot. There's a lot of time and a lot of things that yet have to be decided. There's no reason to panic. There's going to be a May budget forecast where the state economist is going to let the legislators know how much money they have in the May estimate, which could allow them to appropriate more money in this next biennium. The general fund, we will receive, just like we did last year, we'll receive a June general fund estimate. I am optimistic that that number could go up from what we saw in March. We are receiving positive messaging regarding recalculating special education. You heard me say how long the 11% cap has been in place. There is positive movement that says the 11% cap might be lifted. And if you remember from an earlier slide, we had 174 students, we're only getting double weight for 133. That's an additional 41 students that if they lift the cap, that's close to, I would say, about $425,000 additional that could be coming into Coquille. I want to make sure that as we're looking at this budget, we're truly looking at a 2-year focus. And let me explain why I think it's important. Yes, Oregon funds schools in a biennium. We get 49% of our money the first year, 51% the second year. Based on our contract negotiations that we've already done, we know we're going to have an increase of more than just 2% in our second year. In order to allow for that, we have to make adjustments in the first year, not wait until the second year. So, we are going to experience next year the highest birth rate in the Coquille School District that we've had in the last 10 years. In 2020, there were 78 births in the zip code of Coquille. We normally average about 13 over that number. So that number could easily be 91 kindergartners, and that would be the highest number of kindergartners we've had in this district in my 12 years in Coquille. The problem is, the very next year, we had COVID hit. The next year, there's only 53 children born in the Coquille zip code. All of that information is available, readily available on the Oregon Health Authority website. So even though we're expecting a large kindergarten class next fall, we're not expecting that in the second year. But our enrollment can still go up. Right now, Julie gave me this number just the other day. We have 309 inter-district transfers, families that are choosing to come to the Coquille School District. That's why it's so important for us to continue to offer programs and opportunities for students that attract kids to Coquille. And I guess my final message is truly, I do believe this, we have to be patient, 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 because we are not going to know what our true funding number is until the very end of June. The session, I believe, closes on June 25th, and there's going to be a lot of movement right there at the end. There's a chance that we're going to bring a budget to the board and ask you to approve it, and within a week, it could be wrong. Now, percentage-wise, it's not going to be that wrong, but I just want you to know there's a good chance this year, because it's a long session, we're truly not going to know our final number until the end of June. One last thought that I wanted to pass on regarding what I said about the governor. If you haven't had a chance to read this article, I would strongly recommend it, and I can get you copies. But this article came out, state education officials have the power to intervene in struggling schools under the governor's plan. The governor is backing up what she said. She's not writing a blank check for schools. If you are an underperforming school, ODE in the future is going to have an opportunity to come in and make decisions on how the district spends 25% of their money. Looking at our salaries, and we're no different. Every school district is somewhere between 75 to 85% of all of your money goes to salaries. So when ODE comes in and they're in charge of the other 25%, they're dictating everything that happens in your district except for the collective bargaining agreements. I think the Senate President Wagner said it best, and if you want to see the press conference, you can go to YouTube and look up Governor Kotak. She had her press conference on Monday, March 10th. She was very clear in this. The penalty of ODE coming in and telling us how we're going to spend 25% of our funds is unnerving. And I know the board knows this. 2 years ago, my first year as superintendent, we received one of those letters. We were one of the districts that declined Salem having an opportunity to come down here and tell us how to spend our money based on the matrix that they were using. And as the board will remember, the matrix that they used was graduation rate. Our graduation rate as a district is low because of Winter Lakes High School. I can assure you Winter Lakes High School is fulfilling the mission that the board originally gave Winter Lakes High School. And if you compare Winter Lakes High School to other alternative schools, I believe that spring, Tiffany's building was the third highest alternative high school graduation rate in the state. But that's not the matrix they look at. They compare our district to all other districts, and because Winter Lakes High School is part of our district, it's not something separate, that matrix goes into effect, and that's why we were on that list 2 years ago. So, again, all of this is very early, but in the press conference, the governor had, the Speaker of the House was there, and the Senate President. The Democrats have control of the House and the Senate. I really truly believe that this is going to go through, and the expectations of school districts and what that accountability looks like is going up. And I think we have to do everything we can not to have an ODE takeover in Coquille. And if any of you would like to read this article, I have one. I'd be happy to print more for you. But that being able to tell us how to spend 25% of our budget is really concerning, knowing that we have such a large chunk of our money goes into people so we can provide programs. Any questions?
That's a lot, Wayne. That's a lot of information.
They are going to use other metrics. That's not the only metric they're going to use.
They're still working on that
After the
metric.
bill, they said, I think.
Yeah, once the bill gets put out, but they are talking about multiple measures, yes. Suggestions that I've heard, and again, at this point, they're just suggestions because nothing has been approved, but things that I've heard are kindergarten through second grade attendance, which I can tell you that would be problematic for our district. Our kindergarten has consistently had the highest rate in our district of chronic absenteeism. They would use 4-year and 5-year graduation rate. They would use freshmen on track, and I've also heard that they would use 8th grade ELA and math scores. Those are the things that I've heard. Again, the bill was just put in motion, but because of who's sponsoring it, and knowing that the governor, the Speaker of the House, and the President of the Senate are all pushing that, I think the likelihood that that bill will go through is extremely high. So I want to make sure the board is aware of that.
Any other questions for our superintendent? Okay, let's move to 6.0, discussion action.
Would you like me to do a rundown of what those are?
Sure, go ahead.
I can quickly go through that. First is our school calendar for 25-26 school year. I want to point out some strategic changes that our committee made with that calendar. You'll notice some blue. It's kind of a bright blue color on. Those are really work-life balance days that are non-contract days for teachers. What we've done with that is we've created some strategic 4-day weekends within the calendar. So, for example, the first one of those would be on November 10th. The 29th of August or the 30th of, is it 29th?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a font thing for me at this point. So that one is a traditional Friday that we've never had to have a 4-day weekend before school starts. But on November 10th, by not going to school November 10th with the 11th being Veterans Day, creates a 4-day weekend, gives everybody a nice break. For Thanksgiving, we would do a full day PD, and then the rest of the week would be off. We've got a lot of positive feedback from both staff and parents regarding having that week off for Thanksgiving. On here also, I want you to notice that there's days that are red and then kind of light in the middle. Those days are days that we are going to split. Half of it will be PD, so in the morning we'll have some shorter blocks of PD. It'll be 3 hours and 45 minutes. Teachers will get their 30-minute lunch, and then in the afternoon, teachers will have 3 hours and 45 minutes to do work days. That matches up well with our calendar as we're transitioning to semesters next year, and those are the 4.5-week progress report days. So by doing that, allows us to have more PD spread out throughout the year, more opportunities, and do a smaller chunk rather than trying to do everything in a full day. Another one of those work-life balance days would be the 24th of April to have a 3-day weekend after a long stretch. And then also the 22nd of May to make Memorial Day a 4-day weekend to give everybody a break before that final push. I can assure you, especially at our high school, every evening there is a different activity. So giving our staff a 4-day weekend before that final 3 weeks would be extremely important. So that means graduation would be on the 7th, and then Winter Lakes graduation would be on the 5th, And then the last day of school would be June 11th, and then we'd have one final workday on the 12th, and teachers are done. So, just wanted to point those things out. I think with next year's calendar, we've done a better job of dispersing our PD for more opportunities for training, and by adding those work-life balance days in there, I think we've created some nice breaks throughout the school year to make sure that people are as rested as we possibly can be within the course of a school year. So the next thing is the integrated guidance plan. Tanya went over all of that for that budget. Boys golf and girls golf, we only had one student come out for each. So our plan is to co-op with the Bandon School District for golf. Surplus list, we are once again over spring break going to surplus some items. A lot of these items are out of the old bus barn, and some of them out of the new red building that we purchased also. A CDL program. I gave each of you a flyer. This would be adding some new curriculum and program. The Coquille School Board has made a huge financial investment into our semi-truck simulators. We have 2 of those. I believe one of them was $100,000 and I believe the other one was $85,000. So what I'm proposing that we do is that we purchase a semi-truck this year, and next year in the budget we would purchase a trailer. And then we would work on expanding this to be able to offer our own CDL truck driving school in Coquille. Right now, our students are trying to go with South Coast Trucking, and they are currently charging us $5,500 per student, or they have to go all the way to UCC in Dillard, and there I believe that was 58, Tony, was that 5,800?
They're right at 5 also.
Were they right at that same number? Okay. So having our own program, we have the simulators. We need a truck and a trailer and then work through a driver, and I think that the opportunity is there if we have the program. Right now, we are typically trying to graduate 4 students with both a high school diploma and a CDL. Our students that have graduated and have their CDL have gotten jobs and have gotten high-paying jobs. And again, not everybody wants to drive a truck. I understand that. But we do have students in Coquille that want to drive a truck. And what it's costing us to send them to Coast Trucking, I believe our CDL truck driving program, having it ourselves, would pay for itself in 5 years. This is one of those strategic investments that could save us down the line. Other strategic investments this board has made. By building a new bus barn, we're able to depreciate that bus barn for the next 20 years to use that money to buy buses. Buying a new minibus next year. By buying that new minibus, we'll be able to depreciate the money off that minibus for 10 years, so we have money to buy more buses. There's a number of strategic investments that the board has already made. I think the CDL program is yet another, but it is adding a new curriculum, and that's the board's decision.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How long would that truck be good for? And maybe Steve would be the one to answer that. If we buy a truck, how long is that before we have to replace it?
It depends on what age and what mileage is on the truck. But if you get one, say a 2018 or a 2020 that has 400,000 miles on it, most of those trucks are good for over 1 million miles. That program wouldn't use 1 million miles in 50 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And we do believe that we have a shop and a mechanic that would be able to do a lot of the maintenance ourselves. So the teacher administrator renewal list, you have that in your packet. I'm recommending to you that you renew all of the teachers that are on that list. And then you have the local service plan. Last month, we had a little confusion with the local service plan, wanting to make sure everyone had a chance to actually see it, read it, and then I'm asking you to approve that tonight. That's the list.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve,
Go
question,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I was going to make a motion. We could have started at the same time. I'll second your motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the discussion action.
And I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, I'll say it, 6.1 through 6.8 by Steve and a second by Heather. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Move on to the consent agenda. You need to make a motion
About the cash.
about the,
Oh, yes. I make a motion to move JB, student discipline, back to the policy committee.
I'll second.
So we're making a motion to approve without JG.
Well, right now she's making a motion just to move that one policy back to policy committee for further
So taking
discussion.
this out of here.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically,
Okay.
yeah.
So I have a motion from Marcia to send policy JG back to the policy committee, and a second by me, if I'm allowed to do that. Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So now I need a motion to approve the rest of it.
I'll make a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.5.
It should be 7.3. That was my mistake.
Okay,
Sorry.
I wasn't sure. So with the correction of 7.5 to 7.3, I'll make a motion to approve the entirety of consent agenda 7.1, 2, and 3.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion by Heather to approve consent agenda 7.1 through 7.3 with a second by Marcia. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll move to 8.0, staff and public comments. I've received one request from Armando Ruiz.
Just a minute.
Is there any other ones? Or you
No, I don't have any others. I'm just
You're putting
getting my
timer.
timer going.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Go.
All right, dear school board, I am writing to advocate for the implementation of subject-specific instruction for fifth grade students in our district. This plan is similar to the schedule we already have in place for sixth graders currently. As students approach middle school, providing them with instruction from subject area specialists offers numerous academic and developmental benefits. The transition to this model would not only enhance student learning, but also better prepare them for expectations of middle school and beyond. I want to be clear though, this isn't middle school, it would be like an intermediate school. One of the key advantages of subject-specific instruction is preparation for middle school. By transitioning to multiple teachers before entering middle school, students become accustomed to different teaching styles, classroom structures, and expectations, easing their academic and emotional transition. This model fosters increased independence as students learn to manage their materials, schedules, and responsibilities across multiple subjects. Specialized teachers bring in-depth knowledge of their subject areas, leading to stronger instruction and student engagement. Rather than dividing their focus across multiple disciplines, educators can concentrate on a single subject, which enhances the quality of instruction and student outcomes. Exposure to a variety of teaching styles also allows students to develop adaptable learning strategies that will benefit them throughout their academic careers. Beyond academics, this model supports social and emotional growth. Changing classrooms and interacting with multiple teachers helps students develop flexibility, resilience, and stronger interpersonal skills, critical traits for success in middle school and beyond. Additionally, the division of responsibilities among teachers leads to reduced teacher burnout, as educators can focus on their strengths and passions rather than managing the demands of multiple subject areas. I was a fifth grade teacher here in Coquille from 2003 to 2013, and during my time as a fifth grade teacher, I had to prepare lessons for ELA, math, social studies, science, PE, art, and health. I know firsthand the demands of preparation in teaching all the subjects we are required to teach as multiple subject teachers. The plan to have specific subject instruction in fifth grade is what is best for students and teachers. I also want to take a moment to recognize that after our initial meeting on January 10th, I met with Mr. Nichols during several 7:30 a.m. meetings to collaborate on a schedule that would allow fifth graders to benefit from single subject instruction. After one of our meetings, he indicated that CAEA would be inclined to drop the grievance with the implementation of the schedule. We started with a 6-period schedule for 5th and 6th graders and compromised with the current proposed schedule that teachers seemed to be on board with because they had a lot of input and helped to create the schedule. Now after that, there were some TSPC licensing requirements that came about, which I think may have changed their opinion on the proposed schedule. Ultimately, the subject-specific instruction in 5th and 6th grade allows for a smooth academic transition by equipping students with necessary skills, habits, and confidence to succeed in middle school. I urge the board to consider this model to enhance student learning and well-being while also supporting our educators.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nine is our grievance hearing. The board is holding a grievance appeal from the Coquille Education Association. A grievance is a claim by the association that there has been a violation of the collective bargaining agreement. The board will be hearing from CEA and the district administration tonight, and after we hear the presentations, we will take action to either uphold or reverse the superintendent's decision related to the CEA's grievance. CEA will have up to 10 minutes to present its appeal. The district administration will have up to 10 minutes to present its reasons for denying the grievance. Both sides will then have 5 minutes for a rebuttal. The board will have an opportunity to ask questions of the parties before beginning its deliberation. Does anyone have any questions about how this hearing will proceed? Okay, then CEA, you ready? Okay, you're ready? And Julie will start the timer when you're up here and you're ready.
We could have just a moment please, to get some papers out.
Yeah.
Sure.
I won't start the timer.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question while they're doing their papers? By public law, are we allowed to ask questions in agreements?
I thought we were talking to the lawyer, but I...
They made the decision to have this in open.
Well, I understand that, but it's still agreements.
I don't know. I talked to the lawyer this morning, and I thought she said we could ask
Okay.
questions. So,
Just asking.
unless you know something that I don't.
No.
Okay.
I know nothing.
Good defense. All right, 9 minutes?
It's 10, look it.
We can ask that.
I don't know if I can make it bigger.
That's 11 and all that out in 3 minutes. I got my work cut out for me.
I'm not ready.
Oh, actually, I know, you got both of these? I have them both.
Extras? Which one?
They both go down that way. You have those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Julia, will you have that so I can see it?
Yeah, I'll have it so you can see it. You can see it right. but-
I know, gosh, I feel like the paper heavy. We've killed a couple trees today.
Tell me when you're ready. Ready, set, go.
Oh.
No, you tell me.
All right. Do you just want to start when I start talking?
Yeah, I'll just start when you start talking.
Okay. Should I introduce myself again?
I know who you are.
We know who you are.
All right. Well, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for your time this evening to hear our concerns from teachers in the Coquille Education Association about the proposed schedule changes at Coquille Valley Elementary. We are especially thankful that the board has agreed to have this grievance hearing in an open format. It is my understanding that an open grievance hearing at the board level is very rare, with this one being the first in a very long time, maybe ever. Given that this is such a rare event, we can all recognize the importance of the work we take on this evening. We are thankful that all stakeholders have the opportunity to be a part of this process tonight. In a staff meeting at Coquille Valley Elementary on January 10th, the district informed CVE teachers that 5th and 6th grade would be changing next school year from their current elementary education model to a junior high model with single subject teachers and students attending 6 classes per day. We will discuss this evening how the district's proposal has led to a wide variety of issues that affect students, families, teachers, and classified staff in the Coquille School District. Our main points include violations of the collective bargaining agreement, failure to engage stakeholders, lack of justification for change, negative impacts on students, financial mismanagement, and potential legal liability. First, let's begin with contract violations. Article 5.A of the collective bargaining agreement states that additions or changes in rules and regulations affecting teachers' wages, hours, and working conditions shall first be subject to negotiations with the association. The district has argued in Mr. Gallagher's response to this grievance that the district's proposal creates no changes in working conditions due to there being no changes in hours, wages, environment, or workload. However, CEA believes the district is using a very narrow interpretation of working conditions to justify this claim. CEA argues that the legal definition of working conditions includes job responsibilities. The change from an elementary model to a junior high model certainly includes changes to job responsibilities. Teachers go from seeing 20 to 30 students per day to seeing 120 or more. This changes important job responsibilities like grading practices and differentiation. Still, the most significant change to working conditions is forcing multi-subject teachers to become single-subject specialists. The Oregon Teacher Standards and Practices Commission separates multi-subject and single-subject teachers by different licensing because they're fundamentally different teaching positions with unique demands. Single-subject teachers typically hold a degree in the specific field they teach, and their classes are more focused on academics. Multi-subject teachers typically hold elementary education degrees and specialize in creating family-like classroom communities that foster social, emotional, and community development while delivering content across core subjects. Our 5th and 6th grade teachers did not sign up to be specialists, and to force them into it would be a misuse of their many years of education, training, and experience they've acquired throughout their careers. In addition, some of our educators would be forced to acquire a new endorsement to teach their new single subject, something the district had not considered before proposing the schedule change. For the district to not see the fundamental differences in working conditions between multi-subject teaching and single subject teaching reads at best as being out of touch with the demands of each. At worst, it demonstrates a blatant disregard for the unique talents different educators have in the contract that protects their working conditions. Second, stakeholder input is my second point. The district has said that they are committed to competing for students in our area, making Coquille School District a top choice for families. CEA agrees with this vision. We know how hard our teachers, classified staff, administration, the board, and many others work to deliver our best to students every day. However, in the case of the CVE schedule, the district has failed to draw input from the very stakeholders they claim to be competing for. If we truly want to compete, we must actively engage our parents and community before considering a departure from traditionally tried and true educational methods. Third is a lack of justification for the proposed schedule change. The district has pointed out some needs at CVE, most notably meeting state-mandated PE minute requirements and increasing instructional minutes in science and social studies. Teachers recognize these issues and want to be part of the solution. After first hearing of these issues, as the district proposed the change to a junior high model, teachers worked to develop a new schedule in line with the current elementary model that meets these requirements. The district denied the proposal. Teachers felt pressured, coerced even, to come up with a new proposal to ensure they had some kind of input in how they would be teaching. They scrambled to find compromise, proposing a hybrid schedule where 5th grade would be similar to the current 6th grade model. Again, teachers were not in support of this schedule. The district accepted this proposal, but made it clear that it would be a, quote, Band-Aid, and would be readdressed next school year with changes to come for the following year. Teachers find it troubling to think about struggling through a year of change, only to be asked to change again the following year. The district has also discussed declining enrollment and budgetary concerns, which we heard about tonight. As a reason for their proposal, the district claims that transitioning to a junior high model will help insulate teachers from future budget cuts. We appreciate the district for responsibly watching and managing the budget, especially given the effort to keep all of our teachers with potential cuts on the horizon. However, the district has not laid out a clear explanation with budget projections to show how a junior high model helps insulate teachers more than the current elementary model. Fourth is the potential impact on student success. Coquille Valley Elementary is known by many as one of the smoothest operating schools in the district. From 2nd through 6th grade, students make huge improvements in their behavioral and academic performance. For example, the current 6th grade class has improved its proficiency by more than 25% in language arts and by 12% in math from 3rd through 5th grade. This places the class above state averages. The only state testing subject the class performed below state average was science, which did not have a dedicated curriculum until this year. Still, the class was very close to the state average and could reasonably expected to improve going forward given the district's investment in a dedicated curriculum. We have included in your packets some additional state testing data and a comparison to Tom McCall Upper Elementary School. This is the only example school given by the district that operates a junior high model in 5th and 6th grade. As you can see, this school is performing far worse on state assessments. CVE students demonstrate 28.5% higher proficiency in math, 15.5% in ELA, and 12% in science. While state assessment data isn't the only measure of success in schools, the numbers here are significant and certainly don't create a convincing argument that a junior high model is superior to an elementary model. Fifth is financial mismanagement. The district's proposal for a junior high model would require significant infrastructure work at Coquille Valley Elementary. The district has expressed plans to remodel classrooms and staff rooms and replace existing lockers in the 5th and 6th grade hallway. In addition, the district has made large investments into ELA and math curriculum over the past few years to accommodate an elementary model. Changing to a junior high model will render parts of these investments essentially useless. And now our final point, potential legal liability. I spoke at public comments in the February board meeting as a concerned teacher and representative of many concerned teachers. I had no agenda other than to express those concerns to our board to ensure our board knew exactly where teachers stood on this issue. Unfortunately, the district responded by presenting a cease and desist letter on February 13th. An attorney reviewed the cease and desist and the events leading to it and determined in a lengthy response to the district that there is potential for legal liability with the district infringing upon protected speech and the rights of a union representative. I credit the district for acknowledging the mistake and retracting the cease and desist. However, we should all be concerned about the potential for unnecessary litigation that would cost our district money that should instead be invested into our students and creating the best schools possible. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Members of the board, in front of you, you have grievance hearing exhibits. I'm going to start out with identifying exhibit number 1. On exhibit number 1, this was my response to the union regarding the grievance. As far as their claim of a unilateral change of working conditions, I fully understand that we need to bargain, and the district has agreed to bargain, but I have still yet to hear a substantial argument on why we have changed their working conditions. The schedule that I just gave you was the schedule that was proposed to me by Joe Nichols, that Armando Ruiz and Joe worked together collaboratively with teachers and administration, and I did approve that schedule for next year to see how it would work. On that schedule right there, you do see that single subject was proposed by the teachers for 5th grade. Has Neil Eklund teaching science, Jennifer Johnson doing language arts, social studies, humanities block, and Joe Nichols doing math. Of that, the only 2 teachers that truly are doing something a little bit different. Joe's currently a 5th grade teacher. He's a 5th grade teacher on that schedule. Jennifer is currently a 5th grade teacher. She is a 5th grade teacher on that schedule. I believe that we have substantially reduced both of their workloads by only, instead of trying to do all of the subjects, and I think Armando laid that out very clearly as a 5th grade teacher, all the different subjects you have to prepare for, they would only be preparing for those single subject areas. I think that is actually a decrease in their workload. Again, at this point, the district has implemented nothing. We have talked to the teachers in January. We have let them know that we would like to do something different in September. We gave ourselves a 9-month window to really be able to talk this through and come up with a solid plan. As far as engaging stakeholders, we have talked to strategic stakeholders already, some of those being board members that are also 5th grade parents and former 5th grade teachers. Armando Ruiz, who was a former 5th grade teacher in this district for 10 years, as well as myself, who was a former 5th grade and 6th grade teacher. I believe we've done some research and looked at this. I appreciate the association pointing out the success that we have had in our single subject 6th grade, because I do believe the model in 6th grade is being successful. And I believe that our students in 5th grade could handle that model and would share in that success as well. We're not asking students to move to a different building. We're not even asking students to necessarily move to a different hallway. They have the same hallway. They have the same teachers that they have now. We just allow the teachers to focus their instruction. Again, unilateral change. The district has agreed to bargain. If you look in your packet in Exhibit 16, you will see the communication between myself and Tyler trying to schedule meetings. This is a bargaining issue, not a language issue, because we have implemented nothing. The second one, as far as assignments and change, both Article 17 and the involuntary transfer language in the collective bargaining agreement clearly gives the superintendent of the district right of assignment. Again, we have made no assignment changes other than I have agreed to the schedule that I put in front of you. Adequate preparation time. I absolutely agree that we need time to put together a plan. We need to work together. Mr. Ruiz and the teachers need to work together and come together with a solid plan. Our initial timeline had them coming together and sharing a unified plan to the board in May, and then going to parents after we had a unified plan, not before we have a unified plan. Again, in Article 17, it says the superintendent can assign someone their assignment prior to June 15th. We didn't wait till June 15th to start this conversation. We started it on January 10th in a staff meeting with Mr. Ruiz. We want input. I've had an opportunity to answer questions. Those questions are in your packet that I answered. I answered the questions teachers asked me. I even went to CBE and listened and answered their questions. we have engaged stakeholders. Every one of those documents that are in that packet are all things that have happened from January 20th until just last week. There's been a lot of communication and engagement back and forth during that time. As far as the teacher endorsement and licensing, I would like to call your attention to Exhibit 10. This is an MOU that I didn't write. This was an MOU that was given to me by the association. The MOU states for the district will, the first one was sponsor all teachers required to get a new endorsement. I agreed with that. If they got to get a new endorsement, we'll pay for it. The district will pay for endorsement testing as many times as possible. I rejected that, and I said that the district is we're more than willing to pay for the test, but we're willing to pay for the test once. Study materials, of course, we will buy study materials for the teachers. Paid time and substitute time. Our teachers have unassigned time every day that they can use to study, and we have one more PD day coming up on April 4th that there would be time for them to study. If they needed more time than after that, I would expect them to come and talk to us. Travel reimbursement and or using district transportation to take a test. Absolutely, we agreed to that. I am optimistic that Tiffany will have our Pearson Testing Center at Winter Lakes High School set up, and we can take those tests right here within our district. The last one, involuntary transfers. Teachers will not be involuntarily transferred to a different grade level once the new endorsements are obtained due to the CVE restructuring. I could not agree to that. There are too many variables coming up in the future of this district with declining enrollment that I can't promise teachers if they get this endorsement that somehow that is going to protect them from future involuntary transfers. I can't guarantee them a job by providing that. This is negotiation conversation. This is not a language violation. Finally, the last item that they talked about was improper implementation of the layoff procedure. I started my conversation with the teachers from the very beginning that we are trying to save every teacher's job. We have fought so hard in this district to have enough teachers. We've created Grow Your Own programs. We've supported them. 25 of our 76 teachers that we have in our district right now went through our Grow Your Own program because the board was willing to support them getting their education to get the licensure to be a teacher. I don't want to lose any one of our teachers. They're the most valuable resource we have in the district. But again, as far as this grievance is concerned, yes, I denied it because the district has implemented nothing. We brought up a conversation. Yes, I understand there was some confusion after the first meeting. I answered their questions. I met with teachers at CVE and answered as many questions as I could. I've met with their union representative multiple times, and again, we've implemented nothing at this point. Are we planning to make a change in September? Yes. Do we need to come back to the table and finish our negotiations? Yes. Have we tried to negotiate with them and schedule time? Yes. This grievance, there is no contract violation. The district has implemented nothing at this point.
Okay, CEA, you have 5 minutes, if you would like to take it.
Computers hooked into that. Yeah.
Where do I start?
You're ready.
So first of all, the district is saying that this is not a contract language violation. and we would continue to disagree that this is a contract language violation. While no action has been taken yet to change this schedule, the district has been very, very clear that their intent is to have that schedule be changed. So it seems as if from the district's perspective, we would be expected to wait until this schedule is changed before having any say about what that schedule would look like. We know that the district's intent is leaning very heavily on change at CVE, because at the January 16th listening session that Mr. Gallagher referred to, multiple times the superintendent referred to needing to know who's on the bus. That was brought up several times in different ways. And teachers took that as a direct suggestion that if they did not get along with this plan, then they would not be here next year.
And with that, in that meeting, Wayne told the teachers to come up with a different solution and that they would be open to hearing different solutions. We proposed one that met the requirements for PE, met the requirements for social studies that's in the packet that we gave you, but then it was ultimately denied. And with the second schedule that we worked on with the teachers and the administration, trying to come to some kind of, I don't know, understanding, because at that point when we were working on the schedules, we were still under the impression we were going to have to reapply and re-interview for our jobs. So that schedule change was, one, we thought that's what was best for students, and two, teachers are worried about losing their jobs if they weren't on the bus. So.
And the district's initial indication about who would be in which jobs was very simply that they expected teachers to reapply for their jobs, that essentially each of the positions would be cut, and that the teachers would have to kind of go through some sort of new hiring process and reapply for their jobs. That caused a lot of uncertainty, a lot of concern amongst the teachers who are at CVE. And to go back to a point that Mr. Gallagher made about the junior high model being beneficial in so many different ways, something that we've continually asked the district is to provide data that supports that. As educators, we always want to make data-informed decisions, and currently we feel that our data is proving that the elementary model is working very well at Coquille Valley Elementary. In addition, the district still has not presented data that suggests that this model would be beneficial to insulating teachers from potential future cuts due to declining enrollment. If we were to see data that clearly shows that, that may change our minds. Another note here, Mr. Gallagher mentioned that they did do research with stakeholders. That was absolutely news to us here tonight. That's the first that we've heard mention of any stakeholder interaction being done through this process. And so it is great to hear that some people were discussed, or some discussions were had before this proposal was made, but it was the teacher's perception, not just after the first meeting, not just after the listening session, but continually throughout this process, teachers have felt that, sorry, kind of losing my train of thought. Joe, where was I?
How teachers were perceiving the change, that it was coming whether we liked it or not.
Yeah, essentially.
Without teacher input, whether we liked it or not.
And another point here, I've got 35 seconds. The district, as Mr. Gallagher said, does have the right to assignment, but at a recent meeting that we had with our CVE teachers, we took an anonymous survey to see who was in support of this proposal. It was unanimous that teachers were not in support of the current proposal or the junior high model. And we have to ask ourselves if we're willing to put ourselves in a situation, if the district wants to have the right of assignment, are they really willing to reassign teachers to positions that they don't want to be in?
Done.
And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your time.
You want 5 minutes for rebuttal?
Okay, ready? Again, I want to point out to the board that we started this conversation in January, not in June. We have talked to people. We have listened to teachers. I keep hearing the word junior high model. That word has never come out of my mouth. I've talked about middle school model. Armando has talked about intermediate model. The word junior high and 5th grade have never been put together. I find that interesting. Teachers feeling like not having any say. I understand that there may have been some hard feelings based on feedback that I got after that first meeting, and that feeling that, yes, the district is going in a new direction. This board has given me very clear goals to increase our academics within the district and look for ways of advancement for our students. This is one more way to advance students. And currently, we have 5 5th graders that are taking advantage of that advancement right now. The data that they gave is the data that I would stand behind and agree with them. Look at the scores of our 6th grade students. Look at how they're scoring when they have single subject teachers rather than multiple subject. And helping our students make the transition from going from a hook to a locker and everything above that Armando talked about. We're trying to help these students make a transition and decrease. Again, the district agreed to pull back our initial proposal. We changed, and we did make the comment that Joe said, that we would welcome other suggestions. The teachers had an opportunity to work with Mr. Ruiz, create that, and present that proposal. And yes, I did agree to that proposal for 1 year. Let's try it. Let's try something different. Let's not continue to do the same thing we've done for years and years and years and expect a different result. If we want change and we want to see something different, we have to be the implementation of that change. Because leaving things exactly the way it is doesn't mean that it is, just because it's the way we've always done, doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. Again, the district has implemented nothing. A grievance is about contract language. We have implemented nothing. We have not violated the contract. If anything, the district has agreed in Article 5 that Tyler read. We have agreed to bargain. We just have yet to have our 2 teams come together and bargain. These feelings that people are having, again, I've invited all of the CVE staff when I was over there. If any of them would like to come and visit with me, my door is always open. I've had a number of teachers take me up on that, but only one CVE teacher has taken me up on that. My door is always open for our teachers. I said it last time I was up here. They are our greatest resource in our district. But as far as a grievance, this should have never got to a grievance, in my opinion. This should have been a demand to bargain. We agreed to bargain. We sit down at the table. We have some conversations. And the teachers and Mr. Ruiz work together and create a schedule, which they ultimately did, and it has been accepted by the district to try for 1 year. That's all I have.
Can I take your number 50 seconds?
I don't know if you can. I don't know that you can. Okay.
Well, I think we let both of them talk.
Oh, I guess we did let.
Yeah, you
Jonathan talk.
did let both of them talk.
All right, well,
Okay, you got 40 seconds.
I would add that a couple things. Student achievement is first and foremost at our school and in our district, and never will I be satisfied with assessment scores where half of our students aren't meeting a benchmark in any grade level. Not to float my own boat here, but I used to teach 5th grade, and I would never even be satisfied with 70% of my kids passing. I understand that standards have been risen and that expectations are even more difficult for teachers, and that's a part of this change too, is that reducing the teacher workload so that they could teach single subjects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, board, do you have any questions for either group?
Are we allowed to ask it on either side?
I think so. Question. In fact, maybe Tyler, you want to come up closer so it's easier to ask questions of you?
Well, are we supposed to go listen to somebody else?
We will go to executive
we'll go to
session.
executive session
We'll go to
after this.
executive session to discuss with our lawyer, but I'll read that. But we need to, if there's any
If you have any
questions
questions.
for,
Clarifying. Thank you.
I have a question. When you mentioned the teacher would be cut and have to reapply, I didn't quite understand what that was all about.
Well, that was the district's original indication, was that they wanted to go through a process of teachers. Well, let me start from the beginning. At the original meeting, it was kind of floated to teachers as, all right, this is happening, and let me know what positions that you want to take, and we'll kind of go from there. And teachers felt very uncertain about that. So then at the listening session, January 16th, Mr. Gallagher said that they were looking at a process where teachers would have to reapply for their jobs. They would basically be opening new positions, and our perception of that was that if you're opening new positions, that means the old positions no longer exist. And so essentially, we interpreted that as a layoff procedure, which the district later did say that they did not want to go through a layoff procedure. Instead, they wanted to use the involuntary transfer process. And so we do have contractual language for that. But again, I would ask the question, are we willing to involuntarily transfer multiple teachers when not a single teacher in the building is in support of the plans being proposed? Either the currently accepted plan or the originally proposed plan. Neither of them are supported by CVE teachers by anonymous survey.
How many meetings have there actually been with you guys?
There's on the back of the letter.
I saw like 2 or 3, right? So you guys haven't gotten that far
No,
in your conversations before it all stops. So there really isn't a plan set, right? Everything just had to stop is what it sounded like. You guys had a couple of listening sessions, 2 or 3, and then it was done. So there really hasn't been a lot of conversations.
So there's been 2 listening sessions, and then we've been meeting weekly for 30 minutes once a week to talk about the changes.
In January?
Well, January, February, up to kind of this month. So
It's on the back of the letter.
Yeah, so we've been meeting 30
every
minutes.
week
We
since
stopped having
February?
meetings on
Yeah.
Wednesday though because of the grievance.
So through the month of February, so 8 meetings?
Yeah,
Because what, there's 4 weeks?
yeah,
In each month, so in a total of 8 meetings?
yeah.
Sounds about right.
And so that's why in our proposal, you saw our ask of, let's take our time, our test scores.
Let me, go ahead, no, go ahead.
Sorry,
So
our test
in-
scores aren't below the state average except for science, and it's only a few, so why
I
not
was
take
just
our
asking about
time?
meetings.
I know, I'm just saying though, like, that's why we're asking for more time to prepare it in our proposal.
Yes, and we recognize that the district sees that starting in January, they feel like that's a long amount of time, but truly we do not feel that that is enough time to adequately engage all of our stakeholders, because we're looking at the process from a different direction. The district has the idea that we need to create a plan and then present a plan, which I understand, but it seems like we're going to go through a lot of work to create a plan that eventually may not be accepted well by the very stakeholders that this matters most to.
But we only had 4 meetings then in January before we heard about anything in February, basically, and whatever 4 you guys had in February. So there's really only been 4 meetings that you guys got to.
I don't know the exact number, I'm sorry, not off the top of my head.
Well, if you're having one every week in the month of January, that's 4 at most, right? 4 meetings that you guys have had before there was an objection to everything. And talks kind of stopped. Is that based on what the timeline, the meetings that Armando gave in his and that you guys gave in yours and Wayne gave in his? 4 meetings before any discussion stopped. So there really hasn't been any negotiation other than maybe 1 or 2 meetings where you guys talked, because it was introduced, there was a bunch of questions, and then everything just kind of stopped, is what my understanding is.
You think?
Kind of, I guess. I mean,
It's complicated, it really
We
is.
had some
It's not
7:30
quite that
a.m.
simple.
meetings, and we had
Yeah.
meetings in the morning,
Yeah.
and then we had some Wednesday meetings throughout.
yeah.
And it's on the back of the letter, the amount of times we met.
I did see that. I'm just wondering how, I mean, it doesn't seem like there was a lot of time to collaborate between anybody before it was just kind of nixed.
Well, one of the suggestions at the staff meeting, that when we had a staff meeting on January 10th, was, well, why couldn't we just do what we do in 6th grade or 5th grade? So that came directly from a teacher.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. I just don't know how I got here, but.
Any other questions from the board for either party?
Can we ask questions later?
I think now is the time to ask questions.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just really curious what the other individual has to say, because I'll probably make some people unhappy here, but I think the problem is right here. You guys need to get together and figure this out. If we're not going to do it, and the teachers aren't in support of it, then let's not do it. But sit here, go back and forth, well, he said this, he said that, it's complicated. Well, yeah, it's complicated, and you're asking us to make a decision on your behalf. I want to know everything, and I'm not hearing everything.
Well, and that's where I was going with the
If you
meeting. It
guys have had
sounds
all
like
these
you guys
meetings-
didn't like what you heard, you guys didn't like what
Yeah.
you heard, and you guys all wanted to
It's
take your
almost like
toys
there's
out of the
been no
sandbox,
discussion
and
between
nobody wanted to play
the
anymore.
district and your teachers. And that's what you need. And I mean, if it's not a good idea and everybody says it's not a good idea, then it's not a good idea, right?
And that's where we're at as teachers.
But that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you guys are saying this, I mean, you guys made a proposal, right? So you were on board at one time.
And again, Cliff, I would point out
I
that
don't-
that proposal was made when teachers were feeling very pressured.
And I'm not being against you guys or against the district.
Yeah.
But I need to understand, if you're gonna ask me to make a decision, and in honesty, it's not gonna affect me, because I won't be here next year. And I'm sorry, but if you're gonna ask me to make a decision, I wanna know everything. And it sounds like there's a lack of discussion and a lack of communication between the teachers and the district.
And so in addition to the meetings that the teachers have had with, at CVE with our, Mr. Rees, we've also had meetings where we've discussed the grievance, of course. And in those meetings, it's been very clear that the district is on one side entirely, the teachers are on one side entirely. And to your point about this being between us, I can assure you that everything that we're saying, this is a representation of CVE teachers.
Well, I understand that, but you are the voice of your teachers and your
Yes, sir.
staff.
Yes, sir.
You guys gotta communicate, and it sounds like to me you guys are not communicating.
And we have tried to communicate, and we
I
don't
guess,
feel
let
like.
me interrupt a little bit, because they slapped a grievance on us before we really had time to get going at all. And in my opinion, the union has weaponized the grievance process and limited our ability to have some communication. At one point, they even said they were going to withdraw the grievance. I agreed to extend a timeline just for them to come back and say, no, we decided to keep the grievance going, which has drug all of this out substantially. I don't disagree with what Tyler said about we were struggling to find the right language on the meeting on the 16th. So during that meeting, in front of all the teachers, I agreed to meet with Tyler and Joe on Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock to discuss how we would go about the process of posting, because it was my understanding that there were some teachers that were interested in doing this, some teachers that were not. We had a meeting scheduled for the 21st to be able to talk about that detail. I got a grievance Monday night at 5 o'clock emailed to me. I didn't read it. I went to have the conversation the next morning. But instead of us dialoguing and us doing the bargaining, like I don't disagree, and the district has agreed to bargain. If you look at, Exhibit 16, we have tried to schedule multiple meetings to let's sit down and let's bargain this thing, and every time we have yet to meet. But it's the difference between, is this a contract language violation? That's what the board ultimately is deciding. Has the district violated the contract? Is there language? And I would disagree with what Tyler said. I believe that a grievance would be something that would happen after the district fully implemented their plan. We wanted our teachers to have full input into what the plan looked like before we ever rolled out anything to anybody. But once by filing a grievance and then asking for an extension, and then we have limited our ability to communicate. But I don't disagree with you at all, Cliff. We do need to communicate. We need to bargain. We need to get past this so our teachers and Mr. Rees can work together to come up with an acceptable plan going forward. And I guess when this was presented to me Joe Nichols presented this to me, he didn't tell me anything about he felt that he was under duress. He shared this plan, and it did appear to me, and that's why I approved it, that this was something that was worthwhile. It was allowing the 5th graders to do what the 6th grade team is currently doing. I believe we will be able to replicate that success, reduce the workload of our teachers, and I think we'll help our students make that transition from a full elementary model into an intermediate model and then going on over into 7th and 8th grade. I'm more than willing to meet. I mean, we meet every month at 7 o'clock in the morning. And Joe was the previous union president. We met once a month after school. I mean, we really are willing to work through this, but I'm just struggling with a grievance is about a language violation. That's what this is about.
I think grievance is a tool. I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Well, first, I would caution you, it sounded negative when you said that they slapped us with the grievance. That sounded a little bit negative. I think that I would change my,
I will accept
I
that.
would change that because it's their right to serve us with
They
the
chose to
grievance.
file a grievance at that point. I wish they would have waited a little bit longer,
But
because I think we would have got further.
I think that I also think that we need to communicate, or, well, not we, but
No, yeah.
them, they need to communicate a little bit better. I think that there might obviously be some hard feelings here. And at this point, my understanding is all that we are deciding is whether this is a grievance or a contract violation. I think I'm satisfied with my
I'm fine. I'm satisfied with what I'm hearing. I just,
Okay, we still do have our lawyer waiting to
Right,
talk about
right, so to go into executive session, I don't have any more questions.
If I may comment on the grievance
3 seconds.
timeline. Okay. So
Where's my iPad?
I'm going to start now before she can get it. All right. The reason that we filed a grievance when we did is because the grievance timeline is very strict in the contract. There are only so many days that we can have after an event has occurred before a grievance can be filed.
I don't think that we're questioning that at all, Tyler. I mean, I think that we understand that it's your right to do that. I mean, it's.
Grievance is a tool.
Yeah, I don't think that there's
I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
In addition to that, if I may,
Do we have any other questions?
the district did not approach us in a way that felt that they intended to bargain over this topic. It was presented as this is happening and let's figure it out.
Which is why you guys are here now.
Which is why we're here
Right,
now,
okay,
because
got that.
we
Okay.
perceive that directly as this is happening, so this is a contract violation.
Got it.
Okay, so are there any further questions from the board?
No.
Okay, then, let me read this. We will now go into executive session to consider information or records that are exempt from disclosure by law, including written advice from your attorney, ORS 192.6602F. To review and evaluate the performance of an officer, employee, or staff member if the person does not request an open meeting. This reason for executive session may not be used to do a general evaluation of an agency goal, objective, or operation, or any directive to personnel concerning those subjects, ORS 192.6602I and 192.6608. Okay, so, gavel out. gavel us back into open session. Steve, do I have a motion?
Regarding the superintendent's contract, I make a motion that we approve the contract for, what is it, through 2028, is it?
I second.
I have a motion by Steve and a second by Marcia to approve the superintendent's contract. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
The board feels that in order for us to move forward, that we'd like to make a motion to uphold the district's decision to deny CEA's grievance.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Heather to uphold the district's decision to deny the grievance from the CEA, and a second by Cliff. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Oh, we've got to do
Oh,
the letter.
Oh,
we have
sorry.
to-
One more motion.
We need another
one more
motion
motion,
for. the
I'd
board
also
chair.
like to make a motion to direct our board chair to write a response to the CEA's grievance.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Heather to direct the board chair to write a response to the CEA's grievance, and a second by Marcia. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now, yeah, thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.